What if I told you that an ear, yes, an ear, was the spark for a war that lasted nearly a decade? Welcome to the War of Jenkins Ear, a conflict between Britain and Spain that began in 1739 and extended well into the War of Austrian Succession. In today's video, we'll uncover the bizarre story behind this conflict, explore its geopolitical causes, its key battles, and its enduring consequences. By the end of this video, you'll see how one ear symbolized centuries of tension and rivalry between two global powers. The backstory: rising tensions between empires. The War of Jenkins Ear didn't happen out of the blue. It was the culmination of decades of escalating tensions between Britain and Spain over trade, colonial expansion, and naval supremacy. Colonial rivalry. By the early 18th century, Britain and Spain were two of the dominant colonial powers, each vying for control over lucrative trade routes in the Americas. Spain controlled vast territories in Central and South America, while Britain's growing influence in the Caribbean and North America brought the two empires into frequent conflict. The Asiento Agreement. A significant source of friction was the Asiento de Negros, an agreement granting Britain the exclusive right to supply enslaved Africans to Spanish colonies. This agreement, while profitable, led to disputes over trade practices and accusations of smuggling. Naval clashes. Spanish naval forces, known as the guardacostas, frequently intercepted British ships, accusing them of violating Spanish trade laws. These encounters often turned violent, fueling resentment on both sides. The incident that sparked the war. The war's unusual name comes from an incident in 1731 involving British merchant Captain Robert Jenkins. His ship was intercepted by Spanish forces near the coast of Florida. Accused of smuggling, Jenkins was captured and tortured. During the ordeal, a Spanish officer cut off Jenkins' ear as a warning. Jenkins returned to Britain with his severed ear preserved in a jar, presenting it as evidence of Spanish cruelty. This gruesome story became a rallying cry for those in Britain who favored war with Spain. Parliamentary drama. In 1738, Jenkins appeared before the British Parliament, displaying his ear and recounting his ordeal. His testimony inflamed public opinion and added fuel to calls for military action against Spain. War is declared. On October 23, 1739, Britain formally declared war on Spain. While Jenkins' ear served as the symbolic trigger, the conflict was rooted in broader economic and political rivalries, key battles and campaigns. The War of Jenkins' Ear was fought on multiple fronts, with battles taking place in the Caribbean, Florida, and South America. The Siege of Porto Bello, 1739. One of the earliest and most significant British victories was the capture of Porto Bello, a Spanish stronghold in modern-day Panama. British forces, led by Admiral Edward Vernon, successfully attacked the port, dealing a blow to Spanish trade and morale. The victory was celebrated in Britain, with Vernon hailed as a hero. The battle also inspired the naming of Portobello Road in London, the Battle of Cartagena de Indias, 1741. In contrast to Porto Bello, the British suffered a disastrous defeat at Cartagena de Indias, a heavily fortified Spanish city in modern-day Colombia. Despite a massive fleet and thousands of troops, the British were repelled by Spanish forces under Admiral Blas de Lezo. The failed siege was a significant setback for Britain and highlighted the resilience of Spanish defenses. The Florida campaigns. In North America, the war extended to the disputed territories of Florida and Georgia. British forces under James Oglethorpe launched attacks against Spanish forts in Florida, including the failed siege of St. Augustine. The broader context: The War of Austrian Succession, the War of Jenkins Ear, eventually became part of the larger War of Austrian Succession, 1740-1748, a conflict involving most of Europe's major powers. The Anglo-Spanish rivalry merged with broader geopolitical struggles, further complicating the war. The end of the war. By the mid-1740s, both Britain and Spain were exhausted from years of conflict. The Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle in 1748 brought an end to the War of Austrian Succession and, by extension, the War of Jenkins Ear. The treaty's terms. The treaty restored the pre-war status quo with no significant territorial changes. While the war resolved some immediate disputes, the underlying tensions between Britain and Spain remained unresolved. Economic impact. The war disrupted trade and caused significant economic losses for both sides. Britain, despite its initial successes, struggled to maintain its naval and military campaigns, while Spain faced challenges in defending its far-flung empire. Military lessons. The conflict highlighted the importance of naval power and fortified defenses in colonial warfare. It also underscored the challenges of conducting long-distance campaigns in unfamiliar territories. Symbolism and propaganda. Jenkins's severed ear became a symbol of British resolve and a rallying point for anti-Spanish sentiment. The war's unusual name and origins have made it one of history's most memorable conflicts. Lessons from history. The War of Jenkins Ear serves as a reminder of how seemingly small events can escalate into larger conflicts. It also illustrates the interconnectedness of economic, political, and military factors in shaping global history. The War of Jenkins Ear may have started with a single dramatic incident, but it was part of a much larger story of imperial rivalry and ambition. It's a tale of bravery, blunders, and the complexities of colonial politics. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more fascinating stories. With that said, thanks for watching. And until next time.